Hey, what's up, guys? I'm your boy Mike.
I'm Juju.
We're coming to you from Mike and Shay Smoke Room as always, guys. Hey, how's everyone doing? Hope you're all doing great. Namaste. Everybody that's watching that hasn't subbed up yet, guys, if you want to be a part of the community, all you gotta do is hit that sub button. Everybody that's subbed up already, thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. I can never say that enough, guys. Thank y'all. Before we get started, guys, these shows are for entertainment purposes only, and this is a medicinal channel. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. We will be smoking on the show. If that's not something you're okay with, you can go ahead and slide, guys. Alright, so today we're going to be checking out some of the dumbest criminals. 2023, July through September 2023.
Before I came back, I got some shit.
Alright, guys, we're going to jump straight into it, man. Fire it up. Everybody at home, fire it up. Let us know in the comments what you're smoking on. If you're not smoking, let us know what you like about our content. Other than that, guys, let's do it.
Of the week. One thing to keep in mind is that these segments have not been edited since they appeared in their respective lists, so references to specific days of the week, as well as other small details, may no longer apply. As always, be sure to let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed this series, and to look out for another one of these videos later in the week covering stories exclusively from the international edition of Art.
With that out of the way, let's get to the video.
As a small business owner, time management is key, so today I'm using the Daily Express to come up with a new fall banner.
Gotta pay the bill.
Authorities in Atlanta, Georgia say that an armed robber walked away pretty much empty-handed this week after he attempted to hold up a local business but was snubbed by his would-be victims. According to reports, the incident took place on the afternoon of July 3rd at the Nail First Nail Salon on Piedmont Road. Surveillance footage captured of the bizarre incident shows as the unidentified suspect walks in just after 2:35 p.m., holding what appears to be a handgun concealed in a bag strapped around his shoulder. He proceeds to point the weapon in the direction of several people before starting to yell at everyone inside to give him all of their money. This is the point at which you would normally expect the terrified.
Guys, give us just a second. Sorry about that. I don't know if it's still recording. I guess it is. Yeah, we're still recording. Sorry about that, guys.
To show some kind of a reaction to what was going on, to comply with the suspect's demands, maybe try and reason with him, or even attempt to run for their lives. However, that's not what happened in this case. No, instead, pretty much everyone just ignored the suspect. And here's the thing, it actually seems to have worked. In the footage, the suspect can be seen repeating his demands for cash several times, as everyone just sort of sits there and looks at him. The business's owner even picks up a phone call during the incident, casually walking away while refusing to acknowledge the robbery.
Don't seem
While
like
the suspect did snatch a woman's phone when she got up and tried to walk out the door, she doesn't appear all that bothered. Instead, she stands outside for a few moments before coming back inside. By that time, the suspect had apparently realized that his plan was a failure, and he walks out of the nail salon having taken $0 in cash. In interviews after the strange crime, witnesses admitted that they were frightened, though did their best to follow the lead of the salon's owner, who tried to appear relaxed. Police did, however, caution the public afterwards, saying in general it's best to comply with demands in these situations, since you never know what a given suspect is capable of. At the time of this recording, authorities say that they are still seeking to identify the culprit behind this week's incident. Anyone with information is encouraged to reach out to the Atlanta Police or Crime Stoppers.
Dumb, like going to a salon, really.
Representatives from Florida's Hernando County Sheriff's Office say that one of their own employees is facing multiple charges this week following a recent incident in which they accidentally shot themselves, then tried to cover up the situation by fabricating a story about an attempted carjacking. The case began sometime on June 30th when 21-year-old Dakota Wood, who at the time worked for the sheriff's office as a telecommunicator, reported that he had been shot during an incident in the community of Spring Hill. Wood said that he had been sitting in his vehicle in Linda Peterson Park when two black men had approached him, pulled out a gun, and threatened him. He claimed that the man had tried to steal his car, and when he resisted, he was shot in the thigh. He said the suspects collected the shell casing and fled the scene,
Hope you got
during
five.
which time he was able to grab his own weapon and fire several rounds in self-defense. Wood also claimed he was pretty sure he hit one of the men several times. However, while being treated in the hospital for his gunshot wound, Wood's story allegedly fell apart. He later admitted that he made the whole thing up, saying instead that he was upset because of problems he was having with his girlfriend and that he had simply been playing with his gun in the vehicle when it accidentally went off. In a statement after news about the case broke, Sheriff's Office representatives said that these kind of situations were, quote, relatively rare, unfortunate, and unpleasant, and promised that Wood was going to be held accountable. The 21-year-old has since resigned from his position and is now facing charges of tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, false reports of commission of crimes, and discharging a firearm in public or residential property. A suspected DUI driver reportedly found himself on the receiving end of some pretty terrifying instant karma this week after he allegedly caused an accident with a local sheriff's deputy. According to reports, the whole thing went down on July 12th when a deputy with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office was driving north on a section of road in the city of Dunedin. It was just after 9 p.m. and he was approaching Cedar Street when out of nowhere a man in a Honda Accord drove out into the middle of the road in front of him. It happened fast enough that the deputy could not stop in time, sending him crashing into the Honda's driver's side door. While thankfully neither the deputy nor the driver were seriously injured, it apparently didn't take long to figure out the main cause of the accident. The driver, later identified as 70-year-old Edward Parsons, was allegedly quite drunk. He also had no driver's license or registration for the Honda he was driving. After being treated for non-life-threatening injuries, he was arrested and charged with DUI involving property damage, failure to obtain a Florida driver's license, and failure to register a vehicle in Florida.
Karma right there.
You know about hitting cop cars.
You know, I do.
Authorities in Clay County, Missouri say that a 19-year-old man is facing serious charges this week after he allegedly swatted a car manufacturing plant, forcing a massive evacuation.
How
He called the SWAT team and he said it was a bomb or like
something like that. Yeah.
Tell everybody your story real fast.
Oh yeah, I rear-ended an undercover detective in the Fort Smith area.
In a parked car.
No, it was right up the Rogers Avenue at a stop light. At a stop light.
The car was parked.
It was stopped.
It was stopped. It wasn't parked.
Right. So I rear-ended it.
No license.
No license,
No insurance.
no insurance.
Girlfriend's car.
Girlfriend's car. Oh yeah, that was a good story as well.
Alright, back to it. We'll tell that story later.
According to reports, the incident began at around 5:20 p.m. on July 18th, when police received an alarming report from Ford's Kansas City assembly plant, located in the village of Claycomo. The facility had received a threatening phone call from a man who said that he had barricaded himself in a bathroom on the building's second floor and was armed with an AK-47 as well as an unknown quantity of C4 explosives. Understandably, the plant was forced to shut down immediately, and its roughly 2,200 employees were evacuated. A large police response was quickly organized, with dozens of officers soon arriving at the scene. They searched the facility for 6 hours before it was conclusively determined that the threatening call had been a hoax. Following an investigation, police arrested 19-year-old Zachariah A. Peterson in connection with the incident. Authorities now allege that the teenager swatted the manufacturing plant to try and get his friend the day off of work. For those unfamiliar with the term, swatting is the process of making a prank call to emergency services with the intention of drawing the largest armed police response possible to a given address. As we've mentioned in reports about similar incidents, the so-called prank is incredibly dangerous and has led to deaths in the past. At the time of this recording, police say they have no reason to believe that Peterson's friend was in on his plan, though the 19-year-old reportedly claimed he was forced to make the call. Peterson has been charged with making a terroristic threat and, if convicted, could be facing up to 7 years in prison and a fine of $10,000.
Pretty dumb. That's a real dumbass.
Straight up. Straight up.
Authorities in Volusia County, Florida were left both relieved and seriously irritated this week after what they initially thought was a terrifying armed kidnapping situation instead turned out to be an 11-year-old girl's idea of a funny joke. According to reports, it all started at around 9:45 a.m. on July 26th, when dispatchers with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office began receiving disturbing texts that had been sent to 911. They were from an 11-year-old girl who said that her 14-year-old friend had been abducted by an unknown armed man in a white van who had proceeded to drive south on Interstate 95 in Oak Hill. Given the seemingly critical nature of the crime, a large police response was mobilized immediately, with officers from multiple different law enforcement agencies sent to help. Air support was even called in an effort to locate the suspect's vehicle faster. Over the next hour or so, dispatchers continued to receive updates from the 11-year-old by text, who provided descriptions of the alleged suspect and said that she was following in a blue Jeep. However, police were unable to find the suspect or the white van in question. They would soon learn that this was because they didn't exist. After tracing the phone that was sending the text messages, officers were able to pinpoint it to an address in the neighboring city of Port Orange. When they paid a visit to the residence, they were greeted by a confused man who turned out to be the father of the 11-year-old girl. He said that she was inside with the rest of the family. Sure enough, when officers went inside, they found the 11-year-old sitting in the living room holding her phone. Moments later, she received a call from 911 dispatchers. When questioned, the girl apparently admitted that she had made the whole thing up, saying that it was a prank inspired by a YouTube challenge she had seen. She said that she, quote, thought it would be funny. Things presumably got less hilarious, though, when she was arrested and charged with making a false police report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner and misuse of 911. While police appeared to show some sympathy for the girl given her age, they were quick to note the seriousness with which they treat these kinds of matters, with a representative saying, quote, "This kind of prank activity is dangerous. We're going to investigate every incident, but today it wasted valuable resources that might have helped someone else who legitimately needed our help." They also reminded parents to make sure they are closely monitoring their children's social media accounts.
You're proud. Forever. Locked up in a tower.
Yeah, that's not very.
Authorities in Erie County, Ohio say that a bumbling would-be burglar was left pretty embarrassed this week after his plan to rob a bank went sideways, leaving him not only empty-handed, but also comically trapped in front of police. According to reports, it all started at around 2 a.m. on July 26th, when officers from the Huron Police Department received a notification that an alarm had been triggered at the local Vacation Land Federal Credit Union. When they arrived, strange noises immediately caught their attention, which they realized were coming from an access door above the bank's drive-thru. Officers watched for a few seconds as the door opened, revealing a masked man who had obviously broken in. Without checking to see if anyone was there, the man dropped a bag he was carrying to the ground before starting to lower himself from the access door.
Oh, it's coming
It was
out
at this
right
point
there.
the police announced themselves. Evidently startled that he had been caught, the man fell from the access door right into a large wheeled recycling bin below the door. Realizing that he was now trapped and seemingly resigned to his fate, he could be heard on body camera footage saying, "Ah, f**k," before surrendering without any kind of struggle.
My dude
Things got
said,
even more
"Oh,
embarrassing
fuck."
for the suspect when, while being placed under arrest, the bin he was in gave out for a second time, causing him to fall towards the ground. After being taken into custody, the man was identified as 27-year-old Tristan Heidi. Heidi reportedly continued to cooperate with police, admitting that he had been trying to rob the
dude didn't
bank
look.
and saying that he had done
He
it
just
because
dropped
he
the
was broke.
bag and jumped down.
Heidi also reportedly revealed that his robbery plans had been a bust even before police had arrived. At the time he was caught, he had actually been leaving the building empty-handed after failing to secure any cash. Funnily enough, the only thing that he had successfully stolen was the recycling bin that he had fallen into, which he had initially used to climb up to the access door. Heidi is now facing charges of breaking and entering, possession of criminal tools, and safecracking.
Wait a minute. Oh, God, what happened?
Authorities in Sandusky, Ohio say that a self-described Christian woman definitely wasn't doing
Christian.
God's work this week when
Why
she
should be?
allegedly harassed and assaulted a young boy at a local water park. The incident began sometime around
Nice
noon
water
on July
park.
27th when police were called to the Cedar Point Shores water park with reports of a confrontation at one of the kids' pools. When they arrived, they were approached by a woman named Jennifer Hutton, who said that her son had been verbally abused and assaulted by a woman. Jennifer explained that while in the pool, the woman had called her son a brat and a fat ass and had pushed him off of an inflatable toy. When officers approached the woman allegedly responsible for the incident, who identified herself as Jennifer Lee Miller, she denied most of the altercation. She admitted that she had called the child a brat, but said she never swore at him or touched him, adding that she was, quote, a Christian woman, a grandmother, and she wouldn't do such a thing. While some witnesses contradicted Miller's statements, saying that they had seen her at least swearing at the child, police decided to let the incident go. However, they warned Miller that if she wasn't being honest with them, or if there was another incident, she would be charged with disorderly conduct. Miller apparently agreed. However, after leaving the water park, police learned that Miller had provided them with a fake name, address, and phone number. They went back and managed to find her again, at which point she claimed she didn't have an ID on her, and evidently, without a hint of irony, said she felt like she was being harassed. Police eventually managed to identify the woman as Janet Nail, a 67-year-old Michigan resident. She was subsequently arrested and charged with obstruction.
That's it?
The only one and done system relief of Mucinex is delivered fast with DoorDash, so you don't have to leave the couch.
Not very smart, lady. What's that word?
Authorities in Volusia County, Florida say that a 35-year-old murder suspect recently landed herself with additional charges after she allegedly made a rather bizarre and brazen attempt to destroy evidence during questioning. The whole thing started at around 1:46 a.m. on July 1st, when police were called with reports of a fire at a residence on the 600 block of Clark Street in Daytona Beach. Officers arrived at the scene to find that a pile of clothes had been set on fire in one of the second-floor bedrooms of the shared residence. However, it was when they extinguished the flames that things really started to get serious. During a search of the property, they found the body of an elderly man lying face down in a blood-spattered room. He had suffered blunt force trauma wounds to the head, as well as stabbing injuries to the torso. After speaking with the property owner, the victim was identified as 79-year-old Michael Sarasoli, one of the tenants who lived there. Michael's cell phone was recovered at the scene, along with another cell phone that had a blood-covered knife on top of it. The landlord said the second phone belonged to the other tenant that lived at the residence, 35-year-old Nicole Max. Roughly 2 hours later, Max was spotted by police walking barefoot and wearing a ripped shirt outside of a fast food restaurant in the neighboring community of Holly Hill. She had blood on her leg, and when officers approached her, Max reportedly dropped a knife and a hammer at their feet. When questioned about what she had been doing that morning, The 35-year-old was reportedly evasive and kept changing her story. At first, she said that she had no connection to Michael or the property where his body was found, at one point saying that she had been homeless for the last 4 years. After admitting that she knew the victim, Max stated that she hadn't seen him that day, before changing again and admitting that Michael was her roommate and that she had been at their shared residence earlier, though claimed that she had only gone up to the second floor to, quote, feed her spiders. After obtaining a warrant to collect DNA evidence from the 35-year-old's body, police reportedly continued their questioning, at which point Max asked for a can of Diet Mountain Dew. Officers obliged, only for Max to play around with the drink for some time before finally attempting to pour it over her body and hair, in what authorities say was an attempt to destroy evidence. While the sucralose in artificial sweeteners has apparently been shown in studies to have the potential to break down the biological components that make up DNA, unfortunately for Max, her alleged attempt was unsuccessful. Samples collected from Max's clothing ended up matching DNA found on Michael's body. It likely wouldn't have mattered either way, though, as Max's DNA was also reportedly found on the handle of the knife that was found at the crime scene. Instead, Max's stunt apparently earned her additional charges of tampering with evidence and resisting arrest with violence, on top of the premeditated first-degree murder charge she was already facing in the case. So far, it appears that the motive behind the murder has not been released.
Alright guys, well that's part one of our Dumbest Criminals 2023. There was some dumbasses on it. It's amazing. The first few stories I was like, oh, what kind? And then it was like boom, 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 boom. Dumbass, dumbass, dumbass. To quote Red Foreman, dumbass. Alright guys, we're gonna do part 2 soon. Y'all make sure y'all check that part out too as well. And as always, I'm your boy Mike.
I'm Juju.
And we'll see you next time, guys.